All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Webinar Wednesday. Today is a very exciting episode because I know it's been a while since we have a guest, but we've got one for this week. Today we're talking to Faheem Kathrada. Although we share the same last name, we're not directly related. But yeah, Faheem is a software developer with around, I think, over 12 years of experience in the industry, spanning several languages and technologies. So I won't spoil the intro too much. I always feel it's better to hear it from the guests themselves. So Faheem, yeah, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and
Yeah,
your
so I'm a
background?
senior software developer with over 11 years of experience, and my expertise lie in the realms of C Sharp, MVC, .NET, Web API, Node.js, and JavaScript. And I've got a deep understanding of software development and the principles to use it for best practices, which allows me to, develop efficient and scalable solutions for business that drive success.
Cool. So 11 years of experience. So after graduating, did you go straight into a corporate workspace, or like what was your
So
journey like from that point?
yeah, so I took a 1 month break after campus, just coming out of campus, I needed that break, relax, because it was 3 years straight from a
Hmm.
diploma course. And after about a month and a half, I started working for a company called Paradox Technology, and it was on a fully remote basis. So yeah, about 2 months after campus, got into the work stuff.
All right, and then from there you stuck with the full-time development work.
Hmm.
Um, that and I mean, has your career been mostly remote? Because I know you're based in Durban, or you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I'm in Durban. So my first job at Paradox was fully remote.
Mhm.
The company was in Durban, still is in Durban. So yeah,
Okay.
ever since like COVID time hit and fully remote since then.
All right, yeah, a lot of companies followed that
Hmm.
trajectory. COVID came and really shook things up, and yeah, it really, I think, especially in South Africa, it really boosted the whole remote working concept. I think a lot of companies picked up on that after, and some stuck with it, some went into a more hybrid approach. But as a developer, did you ever work full time at a premises as well, or
Yeah.
has it always been?
So from the years of 2013 till COVID, I was full-time in an office.
Okay.
5 days in five, yeah, 5 days during the week based in office.
Okay, so I mean that's interesting because you'll have the perspective on both now, full-time office work versus full-time remote. How would you weigh the two? Like,
I
which would you
still
prefer? And
I still advocate for remote work because it brings out more productivity in me.
okay,
And I find that it's balanced my life out instead of, waking up at a certain time early in the morning, rushing and worrying about stuff. Whereas working from home, it's it's a better environment for me to actually work in. I get the most out of me to you
hmm,
know do my day-to-day jobs instead of now I've got to sit and worry about traffic, going to the office, am I running late, what the next person is going to
right,
say for
right, right.
me. So I get to wake up before 8, but as soon as I'm 8 o'clock hits a clock,
Hmm.
I'm zoned in. I know what I'm doing for the day. I don't have any disturbances or anything of that sort. So for me, it's working out.
Yeah, and that's really one of the benefits of remote work, right? Because it's in all of 10 minutes you can go from your bed to your first meeting of the day.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
And no one really needs to know that. But with travel, there's a lot of things that can happen
Mm.
that affect productivity. But it's like I've heard people who say the complete opposite. They say they absolutely cannot work remotely. It's just a matter of focusing for them or distractions, and they feel more zoned in the office. So, it's I think it comes down to like a preference, a personal preference. Some people just find it a lot more productive, some people find it
I
less.
think sometimes when you're at home and those people, they can't control their distractions because they
Mm,
feel like, maybe it's a weekend or something of that sort, and they still zone into the weekend. But you need that focus and discipline if you're going to be working from home. And if you don't have it, then yeah, office environment is suitable for you.
Yeah, the discipline is definitely key
Yeah.
to the whole remote working concept.
Mhm.
Guys, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, just drop them in the chat and we'll start going through them as we move along. Um, yeah, so coming back to your current position, right?
Mhm.
Um, let's talk about that for a little while. Like, what exactly does the company you work for do?
We're an umbrella company for some of the leading insurance brands in South Africa. So yeah, we our main focus is insurance.
For the software solutions to those insurance companies?
Not necessarily we own the insurance companies, but I'm more focused
Oh,
in the
okay.
IT side of stuff where I'm the software developer.
Okay, you're the lead software developer at this
I'm the senior software developer.
senior software developer. That's I mean, and that's it always blows my mind to hear someone in a position like that, but completely remote in a completely different part of the country. You know, especially when you're talking about larger companies, the corporate kind of idea that everyone has is this tall building in the middle of the city and everyone comes there to work. But it's it's good to know that those opportunities are out there.
Mm.
Because
Yes,
I mean, well, I mean, a lot of our students are based across the country.
yeah.
And sometimes opportunities that we get for them, or opportunities that are out there in general, are not specifically where they are in their city. And so that's one of the reasons we encourage looking for remote work, because it gives you the ability, the freedom to work for any company anywhere, not just in the country, but potentially in the world.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's good to know that it's not just for like junior positions, but you can really climb the corporate ladder to higher positions doing this remote work thing.
Mm. It's fun to work
Um,
remotely.
yeah, it can be. I know I used to work remotely for some time, and I still do. And one of the benefits of working remotely is the freedom to travel as well. So you're not
Mhm.
necessarily uh, anchored to one point. If you want to work on the road for a little bit, if you have the discipline and well, in the software space, the only office equipment you need is internet and your laptop. And it really just opens you up to work from anywhere. You could be working from your home, you could be working from the top of a mountain somewhere, as long as you
Yes.
log in, no one really no one really needs to know.
Yeah, but I find myself in my environment, man. Look, I enjoy my desk where I am. I've got
Mm,
my setup and stuff. That's my zone where I am at the moment. It's my small little room that I've got with my desk setup, my desktop, my laptop that's going on
mm.
with dual screens. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where the whole thing comes into play.
true. Yeah, traveling, wherever I'm traveling on the road, I always miss my second screen.
Yeah.
It's we need to have portable second screens. That's, I think, should be the next step in uh, so I wouldn't really be doing my job if I didn't ask, right? But at your company or any companies that do you offer any internship programs or positions for junior developers looking to just get into the field and start their journeys?
Not necessarily, hey? Not necessarily. I think a lot of the software houses out wherever they are in the country probably have some kind of like graduate
Mm,
program where, juniors or interns can apply and, take it from a
mhm.
software dev house. Yeah, looking for interns
Yeah.
or a graduate program. I think that'll ideally be a place or an avenue where you can find that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, on that line, following on from that, any advice you would give to someone that's, going to graduate in the next couple months, next year, looking into start their journey in the workspace?
Yeah, I can give a lot of advice. I think the one thing though, as a junior or a graduate or an intern or something, obviously you don't have the skills that seniors or intermediates have. I think set up 1 hour aside every day in the night, maybe from like 7 to 8, 8 to 9, or like before you go to bed, just learn new stuff. If you're finding like, I'm just going to give an example. If you're struggling with JavaScript, you're struggling with it, set an hour aside every day until you actually master what JavaScript is about and how to code JavaScript. Start off with the basics. What's a string? What's an integer? How you can
Mm.
write some functions, and then move on to, coding styles, how you write neat code, and add comments into your code, because that's the basis and the foundations of codings at times. Like, you wouldn't want to come into a project where it's just garbage coding and you don't know the structure of what this code does. So it's good to know the basics and spend 1 hour at least every night mastering whatever you set out to master in terms of your coding career. I've done that
Right.
for like numerous years, even while I was an intermediate, always learning new stuff every day. If I didn't know something, I'd spend an hour learning and learning continuously until I've mastered what
Mm.
I set out to master.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Your learning journey doesn't end once you
Mhm.
graduate. In fact, I think it should experience a period of accelerated learning once you actually get into
Yeah.
a workplace, because and this is something we tell our students all the time. When you get into a workspace, especially as an intern or a junior, nobody expects you to know everything or have all of the answers, but what you're expected to do is ask questions and learn about everything.
So
And
So coming to that, when you're in an environment where you're either working as an intern or even a junior, ask as many questions as you can, because as seniors or as an intermediate, the best thing that a senior or an intermediate can do is, give knowledge to the junior, because it's going
mm,
to help him or her grow in their career. I don't see the point of, holding a title and saying, yeah, I'm senior, but I don't share my skills or my expertise when someone comes in, asks
mm,
me a question. It can be like a dumb question. What is the difference between in 32, in 34, or in 16 and in 64?
mhm.
Some people I've seen, they won't answer the questions like, no, man, sorry, I'm not going to answer. You should go and, just Google it. I don't ever tell people, just Google it. What is the use of me holding the skill
Yeah, yeah.
in
Knowledge
my
isn't meant to be
no,
hoarded.
in my brain, what is the use of me holding it? I learned it from someone else. It's best practice to actually answer that person's question.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. And what goes around comes around. It fosters that kind of
Hmm.
environment
Yeah.
in the workspace. So let's go through some of the questions that have been coming in. So Azra Khan asks, how do you recommend us excelling our knowledge in software development in multiple languages like you have?
So the thing is not to focus on multiple languages at the same time. Focus on
Mm,
one language and learn that language until you've mastered it. Then move on to the next one. Because what's going to happen, I'll start with just two languages. I'm not going to even go down 6 or 7.
mm,
If you're focusing on two languages, you're going to get confused. Whereas focusing on one language, I know this language inside out. Now I can move on to the next one. If you're going to focus on multiple, you're going to get so confused. You're going to actually get frustrated with yourself that I'm not learning X, Y, and Z. I'm consuming so much of time. I'm wasting my time. And then what's going to happen is that you've got too much of information overload and you drained out, you're fatigued, and now you don't have
mhm.
this willingness or the discipline to learn, because the first time I tried it, I've now flopped.
Right,
And
right.
either you're not panicking that I'm not learning, but I'm doing something, but it's actually wasting time. So focus on one thing at a time. Don't focus on too many things at the same time.
Yeah, perfect. One thing at a time, one step at a
Yeah.
time.
Even if you're moving at a snail's pace, I'd rather move at a snail's pace and learn something that is of value to me than learn 1,001 things and try to be the jack of all trades. And at the end, I know nothing.
Mm. Yeah, that's, I think, very, very important advice to anyone studying still and looking into get into an industry, because you have this anxiety that you're not gonna know what's
Mhm.
going on in the workspace. You try to take on too much at once. So
Yeah.
either to compensate for your lack of experience, or
Yeah.
maybe you're trying to impress someone. But yeah,
And the
it's gonna
other thing,
happen.
though, like if you've got colleagues, look, this actually happened to me while I was at campus. Like a lot of the guys would actually hear things from, and I'm going to say it's garbage what they hear. They like hear things from around the world. I'm just going to say that other people. You go into an industry or you go into a company, they're just going to give you a book. You need to learn X, Y, and Z. You need to know this book within 30
Mhm.
days. Otherwise, you're out of the job. There's no such thing as that. I've never come across that in an industry where people are not willing to give the chance to the next person to actually learn and, put put their knowledge to the task. So a lot of times people actually just come out there with hot air and say, yeah, we know about this, what's happening in industry and stuff. And it's totally different in the 11 or 12 years that I've been there. I've never seen anyone saying, just take a book, learn this. And if you
Mhm.
can't implement what this book does, you out. I've never heard that. But a lot of the times while I was in campus, that used to happen to me. And that's what actually
Yeah.
made me like, at times anxious and panicky. Is this guy talking like, what is he making? Is he making sense? Is this the truth? And then I went and asked some guys in the industry, and they said, no, it doesn't work like that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, the stock exchange and ChatGPT, that's where the majority of learning happens these days.
Yeah, learning happens a lot on ChatGPT.
Yeah. Um, okay, so Tofik asks, what advice could you give to graduates trying to break into the job market besides making a beautiful portfolio of projects?
Besides making a beautiful portfolio project. Look, back in the day when I was getting into the market, I didn't even have a single project. I just wanted
Mhm.
experience, and I actually offered services free of charge. I said, I'll just work for you without you paying me. I just want the experience. I just want the coding skill so that I can get a foot in India. I never
Mhm.
worried about money at the end of the day. I never worried about side projects. I just want to dive in and get to know what industry is about. I want to know how coding works. I want to be the best person that I was at that time as a junior. I want to upskill myself. So I never put, monetary value on the skills or the expertise that I was going to gain.
Mhm. Absolutely. And IT varsity students, that piece of advice would be very, very familiar to you, right? It's something we tell them a lot. In fact, one of the projects in the course is to actually go out, find a company that needs a website or an app, and free of
Mm,
charge, develop it for them, just so you
yeah,
have that. And when you graduate, you've already got a
yeah.
little bit of experience.
Hmm. And the
Mm,
other thing, though, a lot of people, what I've seen, um, juniors and graduates, whatever you interns,
mm,
they tend to focus on a problem instead of focusing on a solution. So when you focus on a problem, you're going to find 10,000 more problems. Whereas if I say I'm going to focus on a solution, this is what has come to me.
mhm,
I need to focus on a solution that's going to build 1 plus 1 or a calculator 2 by 2, whatever the calculation may be. I'm just giving an example. Don't focus on what the problem is. Focus and understand what am I trying to achieve and work your way out of there. Make some notes down, some points that I've tried X, Y, and Z. It hasn't worked out. Maybe I should try a different approach to it. But don't ever focus on a problem because a problem is going to just make you more and more anxious and run away from what you're trying to solve.
mm. Yeah, I think programming, a lot of people don't realize this, but by its very nature is problem solving.
Problems.
It's
Yeah,
yeah.
yes. And
Okay.
there's 1,000 different ways to come up with a solution, and that's the other thing. There's
Mhm.
no set way of saying that my solution is correct or your solution is correct. It's just a
Mhm.
different approach that we've used. Two different approaches. Nothing's wrong about that.
Yeah, and that's where the creativity skill, I think, in development
Mhm.
comes in. A
Yeah.
lot of people think there's a contradiction there because, coding is pure logic, but how you implement that logic requires a lot of creativity.
Yeah. You might be seeing something from one point of view, and I might be seeing something from a different point of view, but we've come up to the same answer. End of
Mm.
story.
Yeah. Okay, so next question we have in the chat. Are there any other skills you think we should learn besides getting good at programming? So I'm guessing like peripheral skills other than your tech skills.
The one thing that I can tell people, apart from coding, is focus on your personal development. If it's not coding, a lot of people are prisoners of their own minds, the way they think of stuff. And at the end of the day, life is all about how you think and your
Mm,
attitude towards life. So if you think in a very poorly or very negative way, that's going to pull you down. And instead of growing, you're actually shrinking. So in order to grow yourself and stuff. Always put your A game on your personal development. The biggest investment that you can make is in yourself, no one else. And
Mm.
always, look, I've never read books until COVID, and books have changed my life. I've now got maybe, I don't borrow books in the libraries and stuff. I buy books because I'm investing in myself. If I need to go back and reference from a book, I know I own the copy of the book. I just go into my library and pull it out. I've read this somewhere. This is what I'm achieving, or this is what I'd like to know or reference back and get some information out of there. Yeah, so always invest in yourself and in your personal development. And the way that you think will dictate your life and your outcomes of life. And the attitude that you carry out towards the world is what's going to come back to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I just the next question is kind of building on from that. So William asks, as a senior developer, what do you think is the most important aspects that we need to focus on? And how will we know if we're wasting too much time on unnecessary things?
The main thing when you're working in a team is to focus on communication. Lack of communication is what results in breakdown. If I'm trying to get a point across to you and you're not understanding it, and you're not telling me that you're not understanding, if you keep on saying, yes, I understand, I'm going to get the impression that whatever I've said, I've left an impact on you, or you know how to do this task. And let's just say, come tomorrow, Faheem, I don't know what I'm doing. But I said, I spent half an hour with you yesterday explaining X, Y, and Z, and you told me you understand it. And then the big problem is that what will arise is that the way you communicated stuff to me is something that I didn't understand. So if you don't have communication, you're going to result in breakdown. So communication is key across any
Mm,
environment, not just in coding, any environment, even between colleagues, between friends, communication is key.
communication, absolutely. Especially if you're working remotely, because
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
with working in an office, there's a lot more social cues and things you can pick up on. But working remotely, make sure you understand everything and ask 100 questions if you have to.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So Rumesa asks, what are some of the common mistakes you see beginners make, and how can students like us trying to enter the field, looking for internships or entry-level positions, I guess, how can you avoid those mistakes?
Some of the things that I've seen is that you get interns or juniors who think they know they can do things, and they kind of like tend to say, I don't want the help.
Hmm.
And they come across as like, I know everything, I can do everything. They want to carry this burden on their shoulder that they want to show off. But sometimes you need to humble yourself and say that I don't know everything. Maybe let me start off with something small instead of me carrying this poor attitude that I can produce stuff. If you go in with that kind of an attitude to say that I know everything, it's going to come back to you. It's going to crash. You're going to crash.
Mm,
So that's one of the common things that I see a lot of interns and stuff do over the past few years, like come in with this attitude, I know everything and I want to do it. So yeah, that's
mm.
one of the key aspects of failing.
Yeah, there was one of the guys I was, well, he was kind of a mentor to me some years ago, and he says a very similar thing. He says like at one point he had two guys that he was helping, that he kind of like an internship position, and he was helping them grow. One guy wanted to seem like a know-it-all, like he was trying to
Hmm.
impress. So he
Yeah,
tries to, put off the impression that he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
And the other guy asked 10 questions about every single thing that they did. But he preferred so much working with the guy that asked the questions and I think the guy that asked the questions end up excelling and progressing a lot faster and a lot further than the other guy.
See, the difference between the guy that was asking the questions and the person who thought they knew everything was that the guy that was asking the questions, he kept an open mind.
Mm,
And he was open to positive constructive criticism, whereas the other person who thinks they know everything, they can't take criticism whatsoever. You go and tell them, what, your
mm,
code is rubbish or what you've done is nonsense.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
going to take that to heart, and then they're going to hate you because I know everything, when actually they don't know much. It's just they're limiting themselves, and they're going to hate the environment, and soon they're going to be looking for job hopping, looking for a new
Mm,
environment, probably getting the same poor attitude to the new environment, expecting some kind of a change, but you're not introspecting and looking at yourself and saying, I'm the one that needs to change. It's not the environment around me. I need to adapt to this environment. I need to open my head up. I need to be, keep the hat off and let all this knowledge flow into me so that I can make the best of it and I can grow from here.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Ask questions, learn. That's the only way to go about it. That's the only way to really progress. Then Mohammed Tahir
Like I'll
asks
give you I'll
for,
give you an example. A few years ago, I
all
was
right.
working with someone who claimed to be a junior, and they came into the industry. This was like many years ago. They had the same kind of attitude, but they took some of my code and they spoiled it. And obviously, because of like you work with Git repositories and stuff, your name
Hmm.
comes up on there to say that you've committed this code. What
Right,
actually
right.
happened was we were working on my computer, and the code got committed on my computer. My name came up in that code, like, um, this is what happened. But we were actually pair programming. So if you kind of like working with that kind of a person, you need to be quite clear that, this is my expectation if you are working with me. This is what I expect. If you don't give an expectation to say that this is what I expect, that person can, take advantage of you, do something stupid. But you need to set a boundary with that kind of a person. That if you're not coming with this kind of attitude, willingness to learn, I'd expect X, Y, and Z to be done in a certain way. And then we can
Hmm.
take and regroup from here. You're still, if you are that person willing to break down that mentality, to break down this person's mentality that, what, I need to change this person because why this person is working with me, he or she is in my team. And you need to have a team that is collaborating with each other. You can't have a team where one person doesn't get along with the next person or one person is talking bad about the next person. You have to
Hmm.
gel along as a team in order to achieve the success that you set out to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll just do one or two more questions before we close off. Mohammed Tahir asks for any book recommendations in terms of personal development books.
Yeah, I read this one book every day. It's called Think and Grow
Uh,
Rich.
and I'm familiar with
I've
that book as well.
I've read this book probably about 7 times now in the past 4 years. And every time, kind of like make notes from it every single day. I spend about, yeah, in my 1 hour, whether I'm coding for 15 minutes, whether I'm, watching something on YouTube or doing my reading, whatever it is, that's the book that I read every day without fail. And the other thing people ask me, like, what do you do? So having a morning routine is quite great. We as Muslims, we wake up early for Fajr, read our Fajr namaz and stuff,
Mm,
and we move on from there. As soon as I'm done with Fajr, I spend about an hour or so. No telephones, no electronic device. So obviously, I've got my laptop because I need to watch some kind of informative video or just have it on there playing some video. But I got a journal where I go and write down 10 things which I'm grateful for. And that's how I start off my day. If you really want to be a positive person, I start off my day with that. And I move on to some instructional audio at the moment. I listen for this thing like every day without fail for a month. It's called The Magic Word by Earl Nightingale. And it's a 12-minute audio program. But start your day off on that positive note. And if you are going through some difficulties and stuff, maybe try that kind of a change or something. So yeah, that's how I start on my day, asking about personal growth and development. At
mm,
least 1 hour in the morning as well, between 5 and 6 or so, or 5:30 and 6:30.
yeah.
When the rest of the world is sleeping and you busy working on yourself, I think it's a real good investment in yourself.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And it has a lasting impact throughout the
Mm.
day.
Hmm.
You'll feel it.
Yeah,
And the day when you miss that, then you'll also notice it. There's
yeah, you notice
an
it.
entire difference in
It's a
your mood, in your energy levels, everything.
Mhm.
Okay, final question. Would you mind students reaching out to you, or would you mind sharing your contacts or your socials with them in case, they want some advice or anything? No
You can
abuse,
share
obviously, but 100% if you are okay with it only. No
you can share my
expectations.
LinkedIn profile. They can reach me on LinkedIn if they have any questions.
Perfect. So let me,
That's the only contact details that I'll share with them for now.
perfect. I will add you. There we are. You guys add him on LinkedIn, and yeah, we'll conclude with that. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Faheem, Jazakallah so much for joining us today, taking the time to speak to
No,
our students. I know I really enjoyed it, and I'm certain that
This kind
you
of like
not
took
only
me out of
enjoyed
my
it.
comfort zone because I'm camera shy, firstly,
Uh-huh.
and I've never done a webinar before or held an interview with a podcast or whatever that is. But it's actually, the other thing is get out of comfort zone. That's the main thing. If you stick in a comfort
Hmm.
zone,
Yeah.
you're gonna be in this comfort zone thinking that life is going great, and then all of a sudden, like what happened with COVID, it shocked the
Uh-huh.
world. Everyone's in their comfort zone. Now, what do we do? Scrambling around, running here, running there. What do I do? People, it was actually a mental breakdown. So if you get out of a good thing is to get out of your comfort zone.
Hmm. Yeah, because the truth is, when you're in a comfort zone, it means you're stagnating, and you never stagnate for long before you
Mhm.
start regressing.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's a that's a lovely piece of advice to close off on. But yeah, Zakla, so much for taking the time. I learned a lot. I'm sure our students benefited as well. And yeah, hope to see you again sometime.
I hope so in the future. Let's do it again. You got my
Definitely.
details. Let's ask
Yeah,
Bilal to set it up again. We'll do this sometime in the future. Maybe next month.
definitely. Looking forward. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get me
But
on it
yeah,
again. Okay.
okay.
Right, Salam.
Very good. Salam. And bye, everyone.